What is going on, cyberspace? Welcome to the HyperPixel podcast. I'm Michael K, and there's another guy, another awesome cyberspace hacker. His name is Zerain, and he is here with me once again on this very day. How's it going, Zerain?
Quite well.
Fantastic.
I'm doing great. I'm feeling energized and ready to talk about today's topic. It's what I'm excited about. So.
Yes. Yeah, we kind of dove into this a little bit last week, but we just kind of glazed the surface here. But yeah, so we're gonna do a deep dive on randomizers and ROM hacks and all the things there. So before we get into that, Zerain, we must do our little bit of small talk that we do before we get into the main topic. So how's it going? What's going on in Sector X?
It's pretty good. I feel like we're always talking about the weather, but I think because we started around when like things were like really getting cold here.
Yeah.
And so that's always an affair in Sector X.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting a little warmer. However, it's not. I mean, so it's supposed to get up to like 60 on Saturday, and then it's gonna go like back down. So anyway, I'm ready for warmer climbs. But we're not there yet. One of these days, maybe in a month or so, it'll be a little bit warmer.
I feel you.
But aside from that, things have been going pretty good. So
we released a big video. So I guess you've been on the recovery from that.
That's a lot of it is decompression from all the time I spent on that video. So the new Strike the Earth video is out. If you haven't seen it yet, please go to michaelk.net and check the video out. We spent a lot of time on that, a lot of effort, and had a lot of fun doing it. Learned a lot of stuff in the process, and pretty pleased with the result. So
yes.
Check that out if you have a moment. And but yeah, so but was spending so much time on that, and now it's like it's a void. I mean, it isn't, because there's so many other things to be doing.
Yeah.
But, I'm trying to get my bearings. Is the reality of it. Beyond that, but I've been listening to some of the stuff you've been working on next, and I'm very excited about where we're going with it. So
yes.
I think there's some good things coming, even better things coming.
Yes. Yeah. Just a little teaser. It's some music from another game/games featuring some blue character. So, you know.
Oh, that's true. 2 blues in a row.
So 2 blues in a row.
What do you know?
Wouldn't have it any other way.
But beyond that, I've been playing Final Fantasy VIII, like I'd mentioned before. I'm making progress in it. I would say I'm maybe a third of the way through the game.
So what was the last thing that happened?
I'm trying to think. Oh man, you would ask me this question, wouldn't you? About to get to Fisherman's Horizon, so maybe that's a quarter of the way through the game. I don't know. Something like that. Between a quarter and third.
That's some pretty good progress.
Yeah. That part of the game up to where I'm at right now, I've played like a lot. I like the whole game. I've only played like once. That I've only played this part I've played like at least a dozen times.
Yeah.
And it's like I always get there. I'm like, something distracts me, or it's like something else happens. The game comes out, and I get involved in something else.
Right. Sounds like me and Chrono Trigger, just always playing the first like 5 or 6 hours of the game. Like I have no idea. I could probably play the first 5 hours of that game with just like out even thinking about it, just on total autopilot.
Yeah. That's how this is too. The first disc was like nothing. I didn't have to think about anything. Other than I did forget to get one of the GFs, and it's like, dang it. I remembered it like right after the fact. The one that you get on like the communication tower in Dalit. Siren.
Yeah, I missed that one too. I missed 2.
Would you miss Brothers as well?
No, I got Brothers. I forgot what the other one was that I missed.
The one that you draw from those iguanoids or whatever, before you fight the Enchantress.
Yes, that one.
Carbuncle. Yeah.
Yep.
Carbuncle, but I forgot Siren. Oh well. Missing 1's not terrible, I don't think. Missing 2 is pretty bad. But it's like just knowing where they. The worst ones are like, well, they're all pretty bad because you have to like just know more or less,
right?
Or The worst ones though to me are the ones you have to draw from enemies because it's like you got one shot.
Yeah.
Well, you can do it toward the end of the game too, but basically you got one shot.
Right.
And if you don't get it, it's gonna make the rest of the game really hard.
So
I've
yeah.
already made the game harder on myself than it needs to be, but well, we're gonna have a podcast about that at some point.
Same.
But that's been my life. Yeah. How about you, man?
Man, like I didn't play anything last week. I pretty much spent my free time working on that next song.
Oh man,
and that was
dude. It's worth the investment.
Yes,
if you ask me.
I agree.
I
am very pleased with what happened with that. I went into that. So it just kind of tap dance around this a little bit more. This is some stuff that we've done before in other songs elsewhere in bands of music past, and we're kind of re-attacking what we've already done in a different way, and it's proven to be very interesting to rethink the way that you did something previously.
Yeah.
So yeah. Trying to cast aside all the expectations and just, come at it afresh, even though that's very difficult to do if you've heard a song
when I listened to it
particular way many times.
You definitely took me in one direction and then jerked me into another one, and then like it's so much of it. And, I talked to you about it when I listened to it. It's like you really got me. Yep. Like you got me good.
Right.
But it's cool. I really like what I'm hearing from it. So I'm excited to put my paws on it, so to speak.
Right. I'm excited to see what you do with it. So that'll be cool.
It's been a long time since I've actually looked at doing music. Like,
right.
It's been like a couple months, maybe not quite a couple months, but 6 weeks, something like that.
I mean, definitely for me. I mean, I haven't done anything. It's been a hot minute. Like, and Strike the Earth. Like we didn't do a whole lot to that compared to what we did originally with the Cyberpulse stuff a few years back. So yeah, which I guess speaks to, how, not to pat ourselves on the back or anything, but how good that original arrangement of it was. So,
Yeah, well, that's all due to you, basically. I literally added one thing to that. And that's just that one little thing in the breakdown. That's like it.
Which is a great moment.
Yeah.
A fantastic moment.
It's nothing without the rest of the song, though. So.
Right.
But yeah, so we got some good stuff coming. I'm really excited.
I am as well. And for those of you who have been following kind of what we've been doing on the Michael K channel, you will notice that in the past we've done a lot of vocal covers, and there have been a lot of more instrumental things recently. And we talked about this before, but I strained my voice at the beginning of December, being an idiot, basically, while playing drums, which is just of course. And so everything it's taken much longer to get back into the saddle here, but I think everything is good to go now. So at some point we're going to start working in some more vocal stuff with the video game stuff. So yeah, that's exciting to me to be able to get back to that kind of thing as well. But I think it's definitely going to be a lot of very similar, like video game inspired looking stuff too, especially with the video portion of things. So I'm excited to see what happens with all that.
Yeah. I know one thing is we've got to figure out a better workflow because it's just taking me too long to do these videos. It's like, it's not that it's doing that. It's that I'm so much a noob when it comes to all of this kind of stuff. That's part of it. And part of it is just trying to push ourselves too far. Do more than what we're ready to do yet. Not more than we can do, but more than we're ready to do at the moment. Yeah. And I think we need to find that balance because it needs to be more than what's easy to do, but it doesn't need to be like, okay, you're taking 3 times as long as you should to make this stuff.
Yep. I feel you. So hopefully when we plan the ever-living H out of this next video, it'll ease some of that. So we'll see.
Agree.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've had going on. I did, Zerain. I made a purchase this past weekend. So I I sold a it was, what is it? So Retrobit released like a collector's edition of Holy Diver on well, it's an NES version of Holy Diver, which is a Famicom game. Have you ever seen that game?
I'm pretty sure I have, but remind me if you need to remind me.
So it's kind of, I believe, and I never played it. So I've had this for years and I never played it. But I believe it's kind of like a Metroidvania kind of game, like that kind of deal.
Yeah.
But so I've had this forever and I have never played it. And I noticed recently that it was worth a couple $100, and like, I have no reason for this. Is just literally taking up space on my shelf, and I would rather get something else that I'll actually play. So anyway, that's the story of my entire collection over there as of late, trying to, replace things that I don't have any desire to play with things that I do. So sold that, and I made a purchase of an arcade board with that. It's one that I've been looking for quite a while, and I found it for a very good price considering other prices of it that I've seen lately. So
X-Men.
No, that would be cool though.
What did you get? What board?
The Taito Superman.
Oh yes.
Game.
Oh man, that game's great.
Yes. So I
love that game.
Very excited to get that, and I'll play that on a stream at some point soon. But
oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about this game before. I don't know if I don't think it was on the podcast necessarily, but this is so funny because this is such a specific. You know how you have like specific memories of certain games. That's not true. I've played it one or two other places, but the first place I ever played that game, and probably the place I played it the most, is the Pizza Hut nearest me when I was growing up. Actually, every once in a while they would have an arcade game in there, and every once in a while it would change out. It would. I think they only had like one arcade game, which is weird. Anyway, and at one point it was Superman, and so like I got to play it, and I was like, "This is awesome!"
Bro,
like I don't remember why I felt like it was so good. It's one of those things where when you're a kid, most games feel cool, but only certain ones like stick in your mind. And when you go back, you generally find that those are the ones that are better. So your kid self, I think, is pretty good at determining, what's good and what's not when it comes to video games. But I just remember so vividly wanting to play that game, and like over and over, and like my parents wouldn't give me more quarters, and it's like I want to play.
Yeah, so my experience with that game, and really one of the places I played the most arcade games in was a skating rink. And there were like, I don't know, they had like maybe 5 or 6 games in there. But Superman was one of those games. And I spent so much time, with the limited amount of quarters that I had playing that game. And I remember loving that game so much. And I did this thing when I was younger where I would play a game in the arcade, and then I would just assume that I could play that game on a home console or something.
Oh yeah.
And I would try to find it.
Yeah.
And I never
did the same thing.
So specifically that one, I played it. It's like, this is so cool. And then I saw Superman on the NES, and I was like, oh, it's on the NES.
Oh.
And bro, that was just a disappointment and a half, man. But yeah, so I am mega looking forward to getting that. That is like one of my favorite arcade games, and
it's a really good one.
Yes. And yeah,
dude, I'm happy for you. I'm jealous a little bit.
Yeah. So that's gonna be really cool. So I'll have to get some whenever I get it, and I'll measure it and get some acrylic plates for it, and do the whole treatment and all that. So
nice.
I'm excited.
Talking about the Pizza Hut, that reminds me of the only other game I really remember playing there is the arcade version of Double Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that one's so much better than the NES one. It's not even funny. Like that would be one to get to for me anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
I played that on Mister a while back. It's
it's
quite a good.
The graphics are just like so good compared to
I feel like that kind of reminds me of how Altered Beast is, the arcade version versus the Genesis version. It's just like there's so much more there in the arcade one. Yeah. It's just
that's awesome.
It's a pleasure onslaught to the eyeballs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And the ear holes, the whole package.
And Double Dragon's a good game too, just generally. Man,
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Now I'm thinking about beat 'em ups, and I'm going down a whole line in my head.
Yeah, it's funny. Like my experience with arcades as a kid, like I was really young when all that stuff was hot, and I didn't have anyone that really would, like, none of my friends' parents would take us to an actual arcade and sit there and the whole shebang. So it was pretty much my experience in arcades was like Pizza Hut or like a movie theater waiting for, we'd get there a little early and play some games before the movie or whatever. And then like the skating rink, things like that. So
and there's a couple of malls in the area where they didn't have an arcade, but they had like a few games out like in the middle or something. That definitely mirrors my experience. The only time I ever got closer to like more of an arcade experience, I don't know if I ever went to an actual arcade other than like maybe once or twice. Yeah. And most of the times when I went to arcade, it was like on vacation at like a theme park or something. But the only other time is the bowling alley in town had a lot of arcade games, a lot of them. And so if we would go bowling, then get to play, or later on, once I started getting a little older, we would go to the bowling alley with my uncle, and we would be able to play games there too. And then when I could drive, then I would go to the bowling alley a lot and play games, just hang out as Riff Raff does.
Right.
But I'm with you. I don't really recall ever having like serious arcade experiences in my life. Now the town I'm in has an arcade that's like you pay $20 and you could play all day, and they've got like 2 floors of games, pinball machines, like just about any game. They don't have the Superman game, but like almost any other arcade game that you can think of that's either, especially the stuff from like the 80s, they have almost anything that was popular enough from the 80s that you'd want to play. And a lot of the stuff from the 90s as well. I mean, they've got a big X-Men cabinet. I mean, we played that there. And I mean, they've got all kinds of fighting games, all kinds of stuff.
That freaking X-Men
skee-ball there even.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they have that now. They just got that not too
That's
long
cool.
ago.
Yeah, that X-Men game's another one of those games that I played, and it's like, this is so freaking cool. And then, I go try to track it down, and then I'm greeted with X-Men, the first X-Men game on the Genesis. I don't know if you ever played that. But
dude, I owned that one.
Yeah.
That's the same for me. That's the same story for me. I loved the arcade game and wanted the console game, and that game's not, I dare say that game's not even fun, but that may be controversial.
Yeah, I have a lot of nostalgia for that game because I loved it as a kid, but like, bro... The fact that Wolverine cannot have his claws out without using up power, like that slays me.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that bothered me, is that, in battles, like the X-Men are like always using their powers in like the cartoon, for example, even in the comic. And in the video game, you can barely use their powers. Yeah. You basically can't use their powers. So it's not an X-Men game. You know what I mean? And that's what I really hate about that game. Yeah. And it's pretty hard too. As I recall, I probably haven't played it in
it's pretty tough. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure that's the one where you actually have to reset the console or something to get to the final. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is. And it's stupid.
I don't think I ever did that as a kid.
I did the one time that I played through it, and I don't even think I beat the game, but because I was like, I hate this game, I'm gonna beat it. Like, I got pissed, and I'm gonna beat it. You know what I mean? Right. I gotta put this behind me. Yeah. And then I got to that point, and I was reading a walkthrough. I'm like, reset the what? That makes no sense. Why would you do that? It's so dumb. I mean, I kind of understand why they're trying to like integrate like a physical experience into the game, and that's kind of interesting, break the fourth wall, kind of Metal Gear Solid sort of thing. Right. But it's like, what was the context of that? Like, why does it give you any information about like doing? I'm pretty sure like that? There's like the computer system in their base is like messed up or something, and it's something like that, and then you have to fix it by resetting the. It's so dumb. It's like, That's what I recall. I could be like making stuff up because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was a kid when I did that, so I don't know.
That's funny.
And this is, I think the one thing that the younger generation of gamers don't really, some do, but I think most don't appreciate what it was actually like being frustrated playing a difficult game back in that day.
Yeah.
Because like even if you had internet access, which was a real question back then, even if you did, there weren't great places to try to find how to do stuff. And there's so much like wrong information, wrong like walkthroughs and stuff
Yeah.
where people just wrote stuff just so they get their name out there and be like, oh yeah, look, I did this. And knowing that like I can't ever get called out for stuff that's messed up.
Yeah.
It's like the whole like Mario 64 finding Luigi thing. It's like
Bro.
all of these things like, yeah, just do this. I found him. He was there.
It's
like,
so
no,
funny. Like I remember I printed out, somebody compiled a list of every, reported sighting of Luigi in this game. And I printed the whole thing out and I did every single one of those SOBs and not a single one of them worked.
I wonder how much of that was like Nintendo doing like guerrilla marketing. So like,
right.
We'll never know, but it's quite possible there was some of that going on.
And then like things like if you look at this text here, it's like really blurry. The texture's really blurry in the game, but it actually mentions Luigi in this text. If you take a picture of it and you sharpen it up and all this stuff.
Oh, good grief. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's just my trolling. But yeah, so it was difficult back then to bring yourself to beat a game if you couldn't figure out how to do it by yourself. You had to go on an extra adventure to try to find the correct instructions.
Yes. Case in point, the whole Sonic 3 Carnival Zone barrel thing that the game gives you no indication whatsoever that this mechanic exists at all. And I just happened to see it. I just happened to see it in the Sega Visions magazine. One of the 3 people who read that. And was able to beat the game. So,
yeah. But alas,
yes.
Back to Superman.
That's
a great arcade game.
Yes, it is. Man, yeah, I'm mega excited about that. I think it was released at like 89 or kind of late.
Really?
I think so. I think that's what I saw.
Oh my goodness! I think,
actually have my
recollection of
88.
it is a much
88.
Wow, that is a much more good-looking game than for one you expect to come out.
Yeah,
in
looking at the way it looks, like it's very good-looking stuff for that time period. And I haven't seen this game anywhere since then. Like I literally have never seen it beyond.
Yeah, are they like rare or something? I don't know.
So this website, arcade-museum.com, is a great resource for this kind of stuff. So it has a bunch of different information on boards. People who are members of the site can say that they own this board and like say, hey, this is for sale or this is in my collection or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But it's pretty good documentation for all these different boards, and they do have like a rarity scale on here. There are approximately 100 known instances of this machine presumably owned by our current or past members.
So if there's 100 in that, then that means it's probably
the game ranks a 27
10,000
on a scale of 1 to 100.
Oh man.
On ownership.
Yeah, here you go. Census data currently includes 100. Oh wait, no, that's something different. That's just their census. So there's probably like 10,000 of these or something. There can't be much more than that, right? So if they've reported 100, so that's pretty active. Let's say that's if that's 1%, I guess that would be what 10,000, right? Yeah. So that probably seems 10 to 20,000, something like that. I would bet.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like this is a great website for like even learning. They have links to like all the dip switch settings and stuff that these boards have.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Like instruction manuals. They have documented the instruction manuals in some cases, not all cases, but
Bro, you're gonna make me want to start getting some arcade boards. This is not good.
Right.
This is not good.
It is a slippery slope. It is.
It's really bad because, well, I just need to get a Mister, dude. We're back at this conversation. I just need to get a Mister because I just want to play these games. I don't want to necessarily own the hardware, especially for the arcade stuff.
Right. It's so much effort, like to play the arcade boards. It's so much effort. It truly is.
I need to tell my brother though that you got a Superman arcade board.
Yeah.
He'll think that's wild.
That's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, that's like totally been like a grail of mine is to get the Superman arcade board. So and when I was looking, I've looked at them. I don't know, whenever I started getting into this, like maybe about a year ago. I've been looking for about a year, and they've been around 300 or so, and it's like that's kind of getting into the area where it's I don't know about that, but
right.
But yeah, so very cool.
That game plays really smoothly, as I recall it too.
Yeah, I remember it just feeling very fluid and oh man, yeah, I can't wait to play again. It's like I don't know when the last time I played it was like. Oh man, like probably like 92 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man.
So it's been a hot minute.
I'm definitely looking forward to your stream on that one.
Yes. And the next time you're here we can play it together. So that's that's cool.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. So anyway, we need to apparently just have a whole arcade conversation, whole arcade podcast. But
dude, I'm about it.
But yeah, and until then, the topic at hand here, Zerain.
Yes,
I feel like this one might be a rabbit hole, so we should probably get started here. So,
and that rabbit hole may appear in a bunch of different places.
Yeah, exactly.
Randomly.
Hey, so randomizers and ROM hacks. And all that stuff. So my thoughts on this are so scattered all over the place. So do you have anywhere that you want to start specifically?
Well, yeah, I want to like pick up with something I think I said a little bit last time. One of the things that I think what we're about to talk about is the best part. Well, do I believe that? Yes, I believe that. This is the best part of things like emulation and being able to play games not on the original hardware. Some people may say, well, there's imperfections in the original hardware and that can be improved. I don't know that anybody really cares about that. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody actually talk about that, even though that could be a valid point, right? That some of the physical imperfections of the hardware could be made up for by the software. But the reality is those are even hard to detect. Put that point to the side. The other thing is like, well, yeah, we can have all the games for all the systems in one place and just like go through a library and pick them, like the Raspberry or the Retro Pi thing like you were talking about last time, which I've looked at that since and looks really, really cool. And I'm conflicted about what even I want to do still going forward. But again, that's a conversation for yet another day. But the thing about this, and like I've said before, I am no fan of the idea personally. I'm not speaking for you, I know, but personally, I am no fan of the idea of intellectual property for a variety of reasons. And the two main reasons is that it's imposing a scarcity where a scarcity does not exist. And I understand there's arguments against that, well, if you don't impose that false scarcity on it, then no one will start to do any work toward bringing these ideas into existence. I don't really believe that. Maybe the different ideas come in from different motivations, but that could be a more naturally occurring idea from naturally occurring motivations rather than this kind of artificial grinded out sort of thing that we have when people try to create things just so that they can create new IP.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, that's a conversation for another day. So for me, I really think that it's cool because it allows for the obvious removal of anything left of scarcity around gaming stuff. I should say three things. The second thing, and this is even more important than the first part, is the ability to preserve all that stuff. because there's only a finite amount of physical copies and physical consoles of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point it's going to be gone. Like it will just like be dust, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people will preserve some, but they're day by day, year by year, decade by decade, ones are just going to fall apart. People are going to not maintain them. We're going to get to a point at some point where, you know, the size of capacitors that these things are just don't make sense anymore. You know, people will stop making physical capacitors maybe, or they'll become so niche they'll become expensive again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff like that's going to happen. Or any kind of repair part for them. So this is a way to at least digitally preserve all these experiences and all of these things and catalog and archive them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important thing because it's an important part of our history, especially people like you and me. It's a seriously important part of our personal history and who we are as humans. And thus, and we're not alone. We're very obviously not alone. So it helps to preserve that from a historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But the third thing, and this is what we're talking about here that I really like about the emulation and all that, is that it opens up creativity to be able to make things new with things old. And this is why this is one of the two reasons that I'm so against IP. I don't want to talk about the other one. It's more economics and ridiculous stuff. But topic at hand, I'm against IP because it is against innovation with already existing ideas. So basically IP tries to put this lock when you have a new idea that idea, this is that idea, and it doesn't go anywhere from there unless I say it does. I kind of understand that, but the reality is the human race would be more benefited by having that lock off of it and letting anybody just play with this idea until other new cool things come out with it. Case in point, randomizers and ROM hacks is exactly what because that proves out my theory about all that, right? Actually my theory is derived from seeing the evidence of it. ROM hacks are really cool. Take a game, let's place new sprites in it. Let's change it so that all the texts say different things, so the story is actually something different. You know, let's rearrange the things to make a new game that is played in a different order. Or let's just use this engine to basically make a new game within this engine somehow. Basically replace a bunch of assets, replace a bunch of logic on how things flow, replace text, replace all this stuff. And then it's basically a new game in the same engine, so to speak. So that's the idea of a ROM hack. If it's not clear to people, that's the idea of a ROM hack. The idea of a randomizer is to do that like as a one shot, randomly, but usually with the original assets or the assets of the game slightly modified to give a new experience of the same game. A randomizer is still a ROM hack in a way of more or less. It's just a special kind of ROM hack. Whereas if someone says a ROM hack, they're usually going to think about a pre-baked new game based with the assets and the engine and whatever else of a pre-existing game.
Right.
But when people poke those boxes so much and just like try stuff and play with it because there's no risk other than the time involved, you get a lot. You get a big canvas. It's like new art. You can make new art with it. Imagine people have done this. I was going to say, imagine if you take like the Mona Lisa or, you know, some other really famous work. I can't think of any good examples right now because, you know, names of art escape me. But you take one of those and like you're like, okay, well, let me try to improve it. Of course, you're defacing the art. You can't do that with a physical art. It makes total sense. But I mean, if you have a picture of it, think about how many people have taken the Mona Lisa. This is a great example for this, and have just done stuff digitally with it to make it look cool or weird, or just like done stuff to it. You know, smeared her face, nothing else, just that. It's a change. It's new. Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. But the fact that people can play with that and do that has given rise to tons and tons and tons of new art, and that new art can be used for, you know, reflective purposes and just, you know, maybe spiritual or just, you know, self like supportive purposes, like for emotional and just being happy with your life. That's what art is right, to help you appreciate your life, appreciate something about life, and understand that can be condensed into a work. Maybe that's helped bring out new forms of that, or maybe it's new forms to be used in business or whatever. I mean, we've seen all kinds, like what was it, I think it was an IBM ad campaign that did that. Had like a Mona Lisa that was like talking or something, and like there's a whole bunch of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably tons of companies that have used that. Nothing wrong with that. I think that we should be able to use any kind of art for anything else. This whole remix culture thing. So this to me, within the realm of games, is something that's so special, because not only does it help pull on these memories you've had in the past of these games that have already existed, it helps create brand new ones for like a whole new slew of games.
Yeah.
The only drawback is not all that many people are into it. But
right.
But I mean, it's a cool subculture, and I think the people who appreciate it, you find that you have something in common with them because they're able to appreciate it and they understand what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a really cool thing when it's almost like hipsterism in a way, where it's like, oh yeah, we both know this thing, so we've got this connection. But there's something to that, right? There's something to that in an honest, genuine sense, and not the hipster. Oh, I'm just so cool because I know this. You don't.
Yep.
Anyway, I've talked a lot about it, but that to me, that's the entry point of why I think all these things are so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like that's the best intro you could have possibly given on everything that I have listed here to talk about. Like, I think I've never really gotten into the randomizer stuff. I think that's awesome. I've just never really gotten into it. I've gotten more into ROM hacks that are like maybe they improve a game or something like that. So like there's so many different ROM hacks that I've seen where it's just maybe just a very, very small change in a game. So like, for example, there are lots of like color palette hacks. It's like a very small change, but really cool stuff. So like Game Boy Color, so it's like a Game Boy Color patch on a Game Boy game. So somebody has colored the Game Boy game to look like it was released on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
That kind of stuff's really cool. Very small things like the Ghostbusters game on Genesis. So in that game, their suits are not like that typical like whatever, like yellow greenish kind of color that they are like in the movies. They're like more of a blue color. So somebody went in and recolored the suits to make them look more movie color accurate.
Nice.
Little things like that.
That's one of the things in Final Fantasy Randomizer you can tick on, and I'm sure there's a ROM hack that's just this. There's a couple spells that are broken in the base game. They just don't do what they're supposed to do. Yeah. And they just fix the spells to make them do what they're supposed to do. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I love stuff like that. There's also like performance increases in games. Like, did you know Super Mario World slows down whenever you beat a level? When it goes, all that stuff. There's like some slowdown. Yeah, there's some slowdown. Somebody fixed that and released a patch for it. So,
oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, that kind of. Once you notice that, you cannot unsee it. By the way, but
dude, I wish you hadn't told me that.
Yeah.
Probably just like unloading assets out of memory or something.
Yeah, so
that's probably all it's doing.
Yeah, whatever the heck is going on in there, there's some slowdown and somebody fixed it.
Wow.
There's also stuff like there are some games that only came out in PAL territory, and so they run at 50 hertz.
Oh yeah.
And
good.
There are patches for those to make them run at 60 hertz. Because if you just try to make it run at 60 hertz, you're going to screw up the music. You're going to screw up the game. Like everything's going to just run faster, basically.
Yeah.
So.
The whole PAL thing, like that bothers me to no end. Like it really, really does. The thing is, PAL makes a little more sense than the NTSC stuff. So like the 60 versus the 50, because 50's approximate. Well, even 50, it should be like 48, like double cinema frame rate. But anyway, whatever. I don't know much about all that world or why it came to be. I just assume things.
Right. Same. So go ahead and talk about the randomizer stuff. I have some like more in-depth ROM hacks that I want to talk about, but tag, you go.
All right, so on the randomizer side of things, the only randomizer that I'm personally into is Final Fantasy Randomizer, the original Final Fantasy on the NES. But I've definitely watched people play through other randomizers. One of the big ones is Legend of Zelda on the NES. That it has a really pretty big, it may be the biggest randomizer community. At least people who play it regularly, and they have tournaments and all that kind of stuff. Where it will, that one too also has all kinds of randomizations, like changing which dungeon has which item, changing which door goes into which dungeon, changing which bosses in which dungeon. Like the shops, like what items are in which shops, how much things cost, how many rupees you get for fighting enemies. There's a lot, and there's probably stuff even beyond that, because I've not actually looked at how it gets set up.
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest communities that I'm aware of around it. Other randomizers that I know exist, there is a the remake, so on HD remaster on PC. I don't think you can do this on the Wii one. I don't know. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that it runs on the PC HD remaster. There's a randomizer for that, which I know it randomizes item locations, and I think it randomizes rooms, which is a real mind screw for me. I don't know how I would do that.
That's quite a thing.
Because like, think about it. Like it's they had to have refined it, because some of the randomizations could be breaking. That's one thing that's really tricky about randomizers. If it's truly a randomizer, you can break the game where you can't beat it. So people have to think through the randomization to exclude game breaking possibilities. Like, for example, you could in Resident Evil remaster, you could have it where, so you start in the first floor, and then there's one door on one side, there's two doors on another side, there's one door up top and on the left, and there's two doors up top. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doors. Well, the first door that goes into the dining room, that could go into the room where Tyrant is at the end of the game. The one up top could go into like one of the other rooms in the lab at the end of the game. Basically, if all 6 of them went into like rooms in the lab at the end of the game, you're screwed. Unless like somehow they randomized in items that would get you somewhere else.
Yeah.
And like one of them had a door to somewhere else. But even then, it would be very easy to lock yourself out. So things like that, the randomizers are pretty intelligent, because people have messed with them enough to realize, oh wait, if this randomizes here, then we can't finish the game. Let's exclude that from a possibility.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So that's one of them. I'm pretty sure they ended up coming out with a Resident Evil 2 remake randomizer, but I've not really looked at that. That means there's probably one for 3 as well. The original RE2, I think there's a randomizer for it, but I've not really seen many people play that. I know that there are other ROM hacks for that. I'm sure there's like a Super Metroid randomizer, although I've not come across it. It's got to be, that community so large.
Yeah,
there's almost,
I feel like I've heard
and that's the kind of game that that's the kind of game that would be perfect for a randomizer.
Yeah.
Just put items in different places. Like, even if you don't randomize the map, just like put items in different places, and that's gonna be a brand new game basically.
Yeah.
But so like the Final Fantasy NES randomizer, and I know the other Final Fantasy games, especially the Super Nintendo ones and the other NES ones, have randomizers. One of the next most popular one that I'm aware of, and maybe more popular than the Final Fantasy NES one, is, I think it's 4, Final Fantasy 4. It's either 4 or 6, but I think it's 4. There's a pretty in-depth randomizer for that one, as I understand it. But yeah, so for the Final Fantasy one, I'm actually looking at the website right now. If you go to finalfantasyrandomizer.com, you'll see it. I was noting to Michael at the beginning before we started that they, at some point since the last time I looked at it, they updated the user interface, which is really cool, because the user interface used to be kind of hard to grok, and now it's like much more condensed and much easier to see what you're looking for.
I saw it when you were messing with it when we were streaming together.
Yeah.
So yeah, this looks a lot better than what I remember seeing.
But there's so many options on this. I mean, it's got to be well over 100 options.
Yeah.
Maybe closer to 200. And there's like option sets. So like they have standard presets. You can save a preset for the options for the randomizer. The way that it works is that you have your regular ROM of the game that's unaffected, and you upload it, and then you give it a seed, and you select all the options that you want. The seed is what helps to randomize it, and then you generate a ROM, and then it does all the calculations behind the scene. It patches the ROM, and then you download a new ROM that is the randomized version, and then you play that ROM. What's really cool is you can take that ROM and you can play it in an emulator, but you can also go play it on a regular NES. And so I think I've mentioned him before, but the Twitch streamer Gyre, GYRE_, he runs this like basically every day. And he knows this game inside and out. And that's what he does is I think he uses an EverDrive, but either way, he's got some way to get the ROM, and he plays it on physical hardware.
Dude, I wonder if it's possible. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to
that's one of the things that's really cool about a lot of these things is if it is an actual ROM, then it will run on the original hardware if you can get it on there to play it.
Yeah. I wonder if it would be possible for somebody to make a ROM or something that is actually the randomizer that could patch a ROM. And so you wouldn't have to like do any transferring. Like it could just all happen like on the EverDrive or something like that.
So you mean like, well, it would have to know how to write. There's
it would have to know that it's on an EverDrive, basically.
Can the EverDrive write to itself? Yeah, I guess it can because it does save states, right? The EverDrive would have to expose to the software. It's probably a security sandbox. The EverDrive would have to expose to the software the ability to write to the drive, and it probably doesn't allow that. And because if it did, then games could maliciously do things inadvertently, possibly even. If I were designing the hardware, I would not allow that to happen, other than the things that I control as the firmware writer for the hardware. I wouldn't allow anything but things that I do to be able to mutate disk. So I would expect that's how it is, but maybe not. But that would be cool though if you could do that. I can't think of any reason you shouldn't be able to do that, because there's no. Well, I say that. Some of the things that this does, though, is you can like upload, and I was just telling you about this. You can upload player sprites. You wouldn't be able to do anything like that, I don't think. Or if you did, it would have to be very convoluted process. Like you'd have to put the files onto the SD card, and then you'd have to have a file browser to find them. And that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if you're using the Mister, then I guess you don't really have to even transfer. You can just directly run it off a network drive. So there's that.
Yeah.
So that's
cool. Yeah. There you go. How does that work? So I'm assuming there's no way it streams anything. It just like downloads the whole thing locally and loads it in and plays it.
I don't know. That's a good question. Because when you load the ROM, I believe it loads the whole thing into memory, like to play it. So I'm sure it's probably the same thing.
I'm sure the memory has like for all of the cores, it has to have like the memory location completely reserved for the game. And that's what it probably loads it into, I guess.
Yeah.
So at that point, it doesn't matter that it was over the network. It may just take longer to load up to begin with.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But yeah, I just think that it's wild that you can just play the stuff on their regular hardware, because it's just, well, I mean, it would have to. If an emulator could play it, then the hardware should be able to play it by definition, unless you've changed the emulator and then it's not exactly an emulator, it's doing something else.
Or there's also, I forgot what company it is that makes these, but they make reproduction cartridge, well, like blank boards and cartridges for you to make reproduction games. A lot of them you actually have to you have to flash chips, EEPROMs, and solder them to the board, and the whole shebang. But this one particular company, they make cartridges where you can they have like a base unit that you plug in your computer, and you just plug the cartridge in, and it flashes the game on there like that. So you don't actually have to take the thing apart to do anything. So you can just and then flash the ROM on there, and then it's good to go. So I'm assuming you could just use it. I believe so. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That thing's got to be expensive though.
Yeah, I think the actual like flashing device is a little expensive. So it's something like you might as well just get an EverDrive if you're gonna personally use it. But like if you're gonna make reproductions or something, then it might be worth it if you don't want to open up a cartridge and that whole thing. So
yeah, no, I hear you. That's it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we live in a brave new world.
We do. What a time to be alive.
But yeah, the Final Fantasy randomizer, just speaking about it specifically, is really cool because it has like things that are like quality of life improvements, like the aforementioned fixing the spells that don't work.
Yeah.
Although you don't really have to have those spells. Like clearly you don't have to, because nobody does who plays the regular game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's cool to be able to use them. But there's other things too, like let me just go through the list here. Shop information icons. Yeah, that puts like icons next to the items, I think, so that it's clear. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. It actually displays like how it affects like attack and the crit chance and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's like details about it. That's really cool. I hadn't even seen that one before. Let's see what else. Can't hold, when enabled, displays can't hold screens in menu. Oh, so it shows like who can or can't hold an item, that sort of thing. Just like things that make it easier so you don't have to go digging in menus to figure out something, then go back and look and all that sort of stuff.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, so you can start the game already ready to go fight the final boss if you want. Like you don't have to fight the bosses around the fiends around in the different castles before you go fight the final boss. There's just all kinds of like cool like game modes, basically, you could think about it as that. It allows boosting XP, boosting the money you get from fights and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Changing prices of things. Anything you can think of has probably got an option. That's why randomizers are so cool, because it makes one game into like 1,000 different games.
Yeah.
And the replayability just goes out the window, off the charts. It's just basically you stop playing the game when you're tired of playing the game, not because the game doesn't have anything more for you. And clearly some people just want to play it forever. And I kind of understand that, because I'm that kind of person who just wants to see everything. And it's hard to do that when you have thousands and thousands of options.
It really is. Oh. Yeah, that's my thing, is like I like to complete games and then check them off my list, and when I cannot do that, I just keep on playing it until I just decide, okay, I have to stop. But then that really bugs me that I haven't like completed it or whatever, and so it's just like vicious cycle.
How was stopping World of Warcraft for you?
It actually wasn't that bad, because when I stopped playing it, I just wasn't having fun, like at all.
Yeah,
like I was just like, this game does not respect my time, and I'm done with it.
Dude, I'm like that close to that feeling on Warzone. Like I'm like 98% to there. It's just like,
granted, I'm already the WoW ship has sailed for me, but nowadays World of Warcraft is a lot more accessible as far as that kind of stuff goes. Like as far as respecting your time, I think it is a much better game around all that stuff. So, but I just can't. I played it, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, a year and a half, something like that. They had like a free weekend or whatever, and I played it with some people, and it's like, it's all right. But I just
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole MMO thing to me is just this is a completely different topic. I just don't know how. I don't know that I can ever get into it the way that I was into it before. Same. I don't know that I want to get into it the way that I was into it before. Actually, I'm pretty sure I don't, but sometimes I feel like I do.
Yep.
But then I go back and then the game never feels like the way you remember it feeling, and then it's like,
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's just this thing where you might see the guy behind the curtains or something like that, and then suddenly there's no magic. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever that guy may be, you see him, and it's just not the same anymore. So, yeah.
True. So yeah, like I don't. The thing is, like, I would like to get into more randomizers, but the problem for me is time.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time playing game. Well, that's probably not true. I don't spend as much time as I used to playing games. And when I do, right now I've been just playing Final Fantasy VIII because I'm trying to get through it again. But
You're gonna beat me. I know it.
that's possible. If
I
I
know
keep
it.
on the pace that I'm at, I wouldn't doubt it.
Hmm.
I may stop or slow down though, so that you just never know. Uh, I don't know how. I don't have a good system of prioritizing what games to play and when, because I'll get sucked into something, see Warzone, and it's like I can't get out of it. That was how I was with EverQuest, and then EverQuest 2, and to some degree World of Warcraft, but not as much. It's like I can't get out of it, and I don't. I like playing the game, and I enjoy the time that I'm in it, but I would like to play other things. But the thing is, nothing else is as compelling in that moment as that game.
For me, what's kind of been very good for me is I've had all of these games that I wanted to play for so long that I kind of categorize them as like maybe 3 or 4 hour long experiences or something like that, and that's
Sure.
that's it. Versus these other games like modern stuff or these RPGs like Final Fantasy VIII that are much longer of an ordeal. So I say, all right, like in my free time, I'm gonna play these longer things and whatever, and then I do this stream one day a week where I play these games that are, I may not play this game for 30 hours or something like that, but it's a good chunk of time for me to sit there and play this game and feel like I experienced this game and then move on with my life and play the next one. So that's been good for me to kind of just box that particular time of my week to play a game like that, and then I feel like I'm progressing multiple things at once when I do that. So
That's a good thought. Maybe I should do something similar.
yeah. But because otherwise, if I do this thing where I'm playing one game at a time and nothing more, then I wind up in a situation where I'm playing Final Fantasy VIII for 3 years and I've only played one game, and all this stuff. So
Oh no. No, you would beat it.
no, I would, but
Yeah. So yeah, the randomizer thing for me, like I said, it just creates so many more games to play. So that's that double-edged sword aspect of it, because and the other problem with it too is the whole speed run aspect of it, because that's what got me into the idea. Well, I say it got me into Final Fantasy Randomizer, not so much the speed run. I watched it first through speed running, but then I got interested in playing it just to experience it. But then you do that, and then it's like, well, how fast can I beat it?
yeah.
Especially because if you play this game like over and over, it's like at some point you're like, okay, I know the game. I just want to play, I want to, as fast as I can, try to undo the puzzle, because it becomes a new puzzle, right?
So is there like a category of speed running specifically for randomizers? Like how could that
I don't.
that couldn't work, could it? Or how could it?
It could if you use the same seed and same settings, but then it's not random. It becomes just you're running a different game, basically. I don't think that anybody keeps boards for it. But the reason why I say I got into it from speedrunning is because that's the way that Gyre does it, is that he picks certain flags and a random seed that he's never done before, and then he goes in blind and plays it as fast as it can.
Yeah.
And so, and I mean, depending on the seed, it can be as fast as like maybe 50 minutes, 45 minutes. If like everything's perfect and just great location, maybe an hour, up to like, I've seen it be like a couple hours or more if it's like really bad stuff. Cause like you could do very bad things that handicap you. Like you can only play with 3 characters instead of 4, or even less.
Yeah.
You can make the enemies tougher. You can randomize things such that you basically have to do everything you can just to survive to get out of the first area, so that you can go and level up somewhere else, so that you can come back and then start playing the game. Gotcha. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
This is more of the things that he does, like self handicap. Like he'll do he's done like he does this without the randomizer actually, but like he did like a 4 white mage run. So he played through the whole game with 4 white mages, which is ridiculous because white mages have like no attack. I mean they do, but it's like so far the weakest in the game.
Yeah.
That may be debatable, but it's pretty dang weak. And so basically you're playing 4 healing characters through this whole game where you have to have some pretty serious firepower on some of these bosses. And it's like he does. The worst one was the 4 thieves run, because thief is like a useless class. It doesn't do anything good in the game. The only thing that it's adds in any real way, there are other things that it nominally adds, but it doesn't really make things better. The only thing that adds that in any sort of way makes things better is it gives you a slightly better chance to escape a battle if you're trying to escape a battle.
Okay.
Well, you can't escape boss battles. You got to go through some battles, and you're going to have to level up. So, but everything else, like they're pretty weak on attack. They don't do magic really. I mean, I don't think even when they get class change. And so it's like it's purely potions and like freaking beating people in the face. So they have to, and then they can't wield the best weapons in the game either. And so they're like just a really crappy class. And so he did like 4 of those playing through the game. And it took hours and like so many extra hours. Like the first couple hours of the game is just him going out and grinding. Just because like, you can't do anything until you just like get them up to a certain level.
Yeah.
Because like even like their low level weapons are just like garbage, like complete garbage. You might as well just punch. And so that's what he does, is just like for hours just like punching enemies. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing, like, but it's like, how fast can I do these things? Like, these guys are challenges, right? So it's more like a challenge thing, how fast can I do this challenge, than it is speed running per se. So
man,
I don't think anybody maintains any kind of boards for like randomized speed runs, but they do tournaments and stuff. They will do that where they have like, everybody plays
the same one or something.
Yeah, well, it'll be like every round you play the same one, and it's a different one every round. And so, if there's 8 people in the tournament, you all 8 play the same seed with the same flags, and the top 4 times go to the next round, and then the top 2 they go head to head, and then whoever wins.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Man, what a world! That's so crazy to me.
It's really cool because like, especially like the tournaments and stuff, they have like broadcasters, and so they have like the people who are running it are streaming, but then they have the broadcast of the tournament on a different channel, and then you can watch it, and it's like people talking about the game. So they have like 2 announcers, and like they talk about the game and the people running it and all this kind of stuff.
That's really cool.
So they'll do things like they'll show you 2 like head to head, basically. Like in the bracket they look like they're head to head, but it's like it's not necessarily how it goes always. Sometimes they do bracketed like that, but sometimes it's just like based on the times who progresses. But yeah, it's there's that's what's really cool about things like streaming. That's some of the cool stuff that streaming enables too, is new content that is in the form maybe of some like older kinds of content, like TV content. Think about like obviously like sports tournaments and stuff, but applied to something brand new, right? I mean, obviously esports, that's the thing. Duh. Of course, everybody knows about esports, but then everybody thinks about like just super competitive games like, Call of Duty or Overwatch or, StarCraft or whatever, League of Legends, Rocket League. Yeah, of course, all that's got its own esports things, but there's still esports all the way down.
Yeah.
Like Zelda randomizer tournaments, like this stuff, even just speed run of vanilla games like Resident Evil stuff. Like there's like the RE speedruns Twitch channel where like they used to do it more regularly. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention. Maybe they still do it regularly, like once a month or something, that they would have a different game, like of the original Resident Evils, like 1, 2, or 3, and they would have a tournament of people racing it. And again, they'd have a broadcast of it and all that. That's kind of this whole like idea of remix culture and all these new things that all this stuff allows to us to experience new things and fun, interesting, just make connections with other people and find things we have in common and understand that like the world is a cool place to be,
Right.
I think that people need that reminder, like, seems like more and more every day.
Yep. Same, brother.
So honestly, I think we hit most of what I was going to talk about with randomizers. But back to like ROM hacks. One of the cool things with ROM hacks too, and this is the one of the most special gifts I've ever been given was by you, and I've probably mentioned this before, but you gave me there's a translation ROM hack of a game that was only released in Japan called Sweet Home on the NES. And the reason why that game's so crazy or cool is that that's the real inspiration for Resident Evil. And the fact that one, that kind of translation exists is awesome. But then two, you're able to take that and burn that onto a cart and be able to like have that as a game that I can put into an NES and play is just amazing. It's super, super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love...
It blows my mind every time I see that cart.
Yeah, I love the fan translation community. Like there's so much stuff going on there. A lot of games had sequels that were released in Japan, or in the case of Sweet Home, that kind of thing. But like specifically sequels that came out of Japan but never got translated into English or anything.
Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3.
And people have gone through, and like not just Google translated the whole thing, but like really thought through how to translate it and done that to the best of their ability to translate it into English so you can experience that. So a game that I really want to play, Police Knots, which is kind of I don't know if it's related to Snatcher or if it's just kind of like a follow-up, or I don't really know what the relation is.
It definitely looks the same.
Yeah. Which I need to play Snatcher too, so that's besides the point. But there's an English fan translation version of Police Knots that you can get, and you can. And awesome. The cool thing about those is you can play them on original hardware. You can, if it's an NES game or Super Nintendo game, you can put them on an EverDrive, or in the case of Police Knots, it's a Saturn game, so you can put it on an optical disc emulator and play it that way on original hardware. So
that's super cool.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff's really cool. And like, man, it's wild to me like how many games came out in Japan that did not ever come out over here. There is this YouTube channel, GameSack. He does episodes they just have like a bunch of games that have some theme, and one that he has done so many episodes on is Left in Japan. And there are so many good games that came out of Japan that never came out over here. And they have, fan translations for all these games. Or not all of them, but a lot of them.
I don't know, was there any of the Cotton series that was released in the US?
I believe so. But not all of them.
Yeah. Those are games that have some fire soundtracks, dude.
Yeah.
Fire, like literal meltdown.
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Yeah. And the graphical style in those is really cool. It's just the whole package of those is just so well done. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like the whole shmup, horizontal, vertical shooter, whatever, that whole thing. Like I never really got into that when I was younger because they're so freaking hard.
Yeah.
But having gotten into that over the past few years, there's so much good stuff there. Like especially in music land, it's quite a thing.
Man, that's the other thing too, is like the soundtracks coming out on these games out of Japan, especially the ones we didn't get over here. It's like all the best music. It's all the best music. It's so freaking good. I can't even explain it. Like, what's that Twitch channel that like plays like random video game music? I love that channel.
Oh yeah.
I'm.
Is it SGQF? Is that the one you're talking about?
I think that's the one. Let's see, SGQF. Yeah, that's the one. It's offline now. No, not that one. There's another one. I think that's a good one. But isn't there another one that has like pictures from the game and stuff too on it?
Oh yeah, I don't remember what that one was.
But yeah, man, if you guys go out there and you just search on Twitch for like some of these channels that are like playing video game music all the time, Although it may have got like shut down. I don't know. I know that Twitch was trying to really clamp down on like radio station streams. So maybe it's out on YouTube or something streaming. But it would be like all these games, and then like you had no idea you couldn't read the title because unless you read Japanese or something.
Yeah.
And it's like the music's like, what is this? And it's like, okay, yeah, I'll never be able to find this game again.
Right. Like I even in the audio realm, as far as ROM hacks go, like there's stuff where, like maybe the original, specifically like in Genesis land, the original soundtrack may have been kind of like screechy, or like it may have not sounded great, and somebody has gone in there and, you know, put some kind of like filter on the thing to make it more tolerable, so it's not as piercing to the ears when you try and listen to it.
Yeah, especially the Genesis, man. Oof, you can make some harsh tones come out of that.
The Genesis, if an artist can make it sing, like, it is an incredible sounding thing. Yeah. But with great power comes great responsibility. And if somebody does it incorrectly, woo! Like there's some kind of like sound library or something that a lot of games used, that developers could use, like if they didn't really want to truly understand what the heck was going on with the audio chips and that kind of thing. And it was just like garbage sounding, and
oh man,
people would use it anyway just because it was like easy access to the music, I guess.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. But
yeah, I've definitely had my ears accosted on one or two occasions from a Genesis.
Dude, yeah. I never realized it as a kid. Like it never really struck me until I was older, and I went back and listened to some of this stuff, and I could not believe how bad it sounded.
So what's the worst one that you can remember?
I just high pitched stuff gets me. Like that is just beyond the thing for me. And that there are a bunch of Genesis games where they do this, like, I want to say the first X-Men game has a lot of that high pitched junk in it.
Like even like some of the sound effects are like really ridiculous.
For like, what am I thinking of? Like laser sounds, like lightning sounds, anything like that. Yeah. A lot of that will have just some total unnecessary in there for no reason.
Yeah,
but I feel it. Bro, a good bass synth on the Genesis. Woo.
Well, I mean, like all the Sonic games are like the gold standard for most of that.
Yes, definitely. The Shinobi bass synth is.
Oh yeah,
that's probably my favorite one, and I've used it several times in our music as well. So that's cool. But yeah, when it's good, it's good. But when it's bad, it's like ear bleedingly bad.
Right.
So
like what kind of what ROM hacks are like games that you've wanted to play or playing, or like you've thought about, or you've really have hit you in one way or another?
So the one that's been on my list to play for a long time, and I have this on my list of games to stream, but I have not done it yet. I'll get there eventually. And this is actually why I bought an N64 EverDrive, is specifically to play this as well as some of the other ROM hacks on the N64. But the Mario characters in GoldenEye, I so badly want to play that. It just looks so ridiculous, but like so well done at the same time that I have to play that. Because I went down this rabbit hole of like I was gonna make a cartridge to play it, and I was like, well, after I get done spending all the money to make that, like if I want to play more than one ROM hack, I might as well just get an EverDrive and do it that way. So here I am. But I saw there's actually a what you call it, a Sonic in GoldenEye, like the same kind of deal, Sonic characters in GoldenEye.
Oh man.
I saw somebody do a Sonic in Mario 64. So that looks very interesting. I don't know if that one runs on original hardware. It kind of looked like it did. But somebody put like the Sonic Adventure 1 model in Mario 64, and like he runs kind of fast, and that whole thing.
So it's like, is it the Mario model? Does he replace Mario?
Yeah. So his basic, he runs kind of like Mario, except when he starts going faster, he does like the arms behind the back thing, like Sonic does.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's cool. I think my favorite, we've already established that Mario 64 is one of my favorite games. So one of my favorite ROM hacks ever is the 2-player Mario 64 one that runs on original hardware. That is beyond incredible to me that somebody was able to make that happen. That is insane.
That makes no sense to me.
I can't believe that exists. Like the other one that we played, that's like it uses that other decompiled whatever source code, and it's like a computer implementation with like a server and all this stuff. I get it, that's fine. That's awesome. That's great. Very cool. But it's like, okay, it is what it is. But like this one, like being able to run on original hardware, like that is wild to me.
It makes no sense. It's like people just have too much time to be able to figure that out.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's somebody who just clearly loves the game so much and just wants something new from it. I really would like to hear like an interview with the guy or team who did that. It can't be just one person. Well, it could just be one person.
Yeah, I appreciate the heck out of somebody that loves something so much that they spend the time to do that particular thing.
Yeah.
Or like somebody
that's intense.
Yeah. Another one is somebody built or like rebuilt. I don't know if it's all of GoldenEye. I don't think the ROM that I have is complete, but like they rebuilt some of the GoldenEye levels in Perfect Dark. So like using the Perfect Dark engine.
Oh wow.
Playing GoldenEye.
That's wild.
So that's cool.
Man.
So yeah,
amazing.
I desperately want to get into playing some of those N64 ROM hacks, but most of the ROM hacks that I've played have been on the Genesis. And so we a while back when you and I were streaming, and so Cyberspace, if you never saw, Zoraine and I used to do this stream where we were both playing just 2 totally different games, and the layout would like morph and change, which was actually like super cool. I haven't like really seen anybody do this since we were doing that, but it was both of us playing 2 different games, just like talking like this, but playing 2 different games. And he would be playing like Final Fantasy Randomizer, and then I'm over here playing like Earthworm Jim or whatever, and then it would change to feature one game or the other. So so when we were doing that, I played Sonic 3 Complete, which it's a ROM hack. I don't know if it's actually a ROM hack of Sonic 3 or Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or what exactly. I would assume Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but somebody went in there, and like if you know anything about the history of those 2 games, like it's it's actually one game. There was a lot of changes made throughout development of that. Like Flying Battery used to be between Carnival Night and Ice Cap. So like, for example, when you would beat Flying Battery, you'd dive out, and there would be a door there, and that door is actually what you would be sliding down the snow on at the beginning of Ice Cap.
Oh wow.
But they changed that to put Flying Battery in Sonic and Knuckles for some reason.
Oh man.
But anyway, so it does stuff like restore that original order of the levels, and it actually adds some continuity in there, some little fine details to kind of connect the dots between the different levels and the 2 games. So if you play Sonic 3 and Knuckles, it's actually missing the Sonic 3 final boss. There's a final boss where it's like he has like an arm thing, and he can like pick you up and like throw you down in the ground and stuff. And Robotnik doesn't have that in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It just kind of skips over that and then moves on into Sonic and Knuckles. So this actually restores that, adds a little bit of like a cutscene thing in between the two games, kind of resembling what happens in the Sonic and Knuckles title screen, and then it moves on into the Sonic and Knuckles portion of the game. So stuff like that. You can, if you desire to do this, you can play the game with some of the demo music that was in Sonic 3, which is basically eliminating Michael Jackson from the equation, and I do not recommend eliminating Michael Jackson from the equation at all.
Right.
It's
man.
That music is it is placeholder music.
Oh my goodness.
Just
like,
saying.
How could you ever improve? Like you can't be better. It just can't.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. So yeah, that one being my favorite game of all time. Like I love that ROM hack. I think that is like super cool that somebody went in there and did all that. And all these are different like options that you can turn off and on, by the way. So you can, turn flags off and on and change, the game that you're playing. So that's really cool.
That's super sweet. You said it's called Sonic Complete?
Sonic 3 Complete.
Like 3 Complete. Yeah. I have to check that out because that's something that I would be interested in playing. Because I do like the Sonic games a lot. They're pretty awesome.
So, and there are a ton of like, put Metal Sonic in Sonic 2, like sprite replacement hacks. Like, did you ever play the Sonic Super Nintendo ROM hack?
No, what?
So when I first got into the whole emulation thing, I saw that there was a ROM for Sonic. I don't remember what it was called. I think it may have been called Sonic 4 on Super Nintendo. And I was like, literally, what the heck is this? Why have I never seen this? But it's a ROM hack of the Speedy Gonzales game with Sonic in it running on Super Nintendo. Which, by the way, this just reminded me that somebody... I don't know if they continued this, but they were actually building Sonic 2 to run on Super Nintendo.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to play that.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff is just freaking nuts. That's kind of getting more into like the homebrew community, I guess, but and that's like another conversation, but
right.
What else? Another cool one is I don't remember what it's called. It's like Fat Sonic 2 or something like that. So you don't want to get rings in this because they're onion rings. And if you eat too many onion rings, Sonic gets really fat and he slows down. So, and his sprite actually like gets very visibly overweight and he can't like go through loop-de-loops and stuff like that.
Oh no.
So that kind of stuff is so cool how somebody has taken a game and basically been like, hey, that mechanic that you rely on to survive in this game? No, you don't want to do that. That actually is bad for you. Don't do that. You're going to have to play the game differently. Go.
That's wild, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty funny though. Like definitely changes the game. Definitely changes the game.
Yeah, so
very cool.
Yeah, that kind of stuff's cool. There've been there are like Sonic Adventure, like specifically the PC releases of like Sonic Adventure and like Sonic Mania, like the Sonic 3 release on PC. There are all kinds of different things that you run and it like adds a bunch of assets to the game. So like, for example, you could play Sonic 3 with Sonic Mania assets.
Oh wow, that's
so
pretty sweet.
Yeah, like all these people have built like these different pieces of Sonic Mania, and then you can just plop them in a folder, and they're there. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah, so like a bunch of the newer Sonic Mania looking stuff is in Sonic 3, or like Sonic Adventure, like you can play as Metal Sonic in Sonic Adventure, that kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to get into, and I may yet, is like the super hard Mario ROM hacks.
Yeah,
like especially like the Super Mario World ones. Which I mean, it's interesting because a lot of that has gone to like Mario Maker now, which is okay, but it's like I don't know. something about that just feels like not authentic, even though it's, I guess, technically more authentic. I don't know. But
The
I just
one
really like the
thing,
idea of like the ROM hacks.
yeah, the one thing that I do appreciate about Mario Maker is that you actually have to beat a level to publish it or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, but I mean,
I
there's cheap hacks
appreciate
to get
that.
around that, right?
Right. But yeah, like the Mario. Oh man, I gotta look up and see what that one was. So I have like a folder with a bunch of these. Let me look at this Super Nintendo folder here and see if I can see what some of these ROMs are. But there was this one Super Mario World hack that had like Donkey Kong Country 2 stuff in it
Oh my goodness,
and like Donkey Kong Country stuff.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Oh boy, you know when you go into a folder and it has the folder broken out in A to R, S to Z, or something like that. There's going to be a lot of stuff in here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't ever remember the names of the ones that I come across, and so that's my problem. Is I don't record anything. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go back and find that one day.
Yeah.
I don't ever do it. I don't
Yeah.
ever go back and find it. And the thing is, like, I'm not like that good at Mario. I just want to like see if I can get a little bit better. And the big thing is I don't know if there's like a medium level. I need something that's harder than like any of the normal Mario levels, but not like, okay, you're gonna go through 8 rings of the fiery depths of hell
Yeah.
trying to beat this level. Like that's not I'm not about these levels that like literally the entire floor spikes the whole level and you have to like a spin and bounce on like, like bullet bills and all this kind of stuff to try to get through it.
Same. Yeah. Not wild about that. So in my folder here, I noticed there's actually 2 separate folders for Super Metroid hacks and Super Mario World hacks. So
Oh my goodness.
that should tell you something.
I may need to borrow some of those because I'm not sure if I have those.
Yeah. Whenever you come down here, bring an external hard drive or something. I have some
Okay.
things, some wares, some Juarez.
Juarez. Couple cactuses.
Holy crap. There's like Super Mario World, easy, very easy, normal mode, Luigi's Mansion hack.
What? On Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is wild.
Donkey Kong Jumpman Returns. Like these are all Super Mario World hacks.
That's wild.
This one's called I Hate You. I don't know.
Isn't that what most of them are called? Like part 1 through part 37?
Jump Jacked Up Mario World. That sounds miserable.
Oh my goodness.
This one's called Leg Day. I can only imagine what that is.
That's so appropriate though.
Oh man. Mario on Ice.
Oh my goodness. That sounds not fun.
Yeah.
I hate the ice levels.
Same. Hard same.
Man.
See some of the Super Metroid one. Oh yeah, there's all kinds in here.
Oh, good grief.
Dark Nightmare. GBA style. So that's cool. So I guess somebody restyled it to look like the GBA style.
Oh yeah.
Those games. So that's cool.
Very interesting.
WTF boss order hack. Man. It's just another world in these folders, Zerain.
Yeah. Like, think about how many hundreds and thousands of hours you could spend just trying to play through some of those things and not succeeding.
Right?
That would be me. Like, not succeeding at anything. At those. just like
Yeah.
getting pissed and just like, oh, I'm gonna get it this time.
Right. Yeah, I need to do a stream where I just play through a bunch of these ROM hacks and see how long it is before I throw a controller or something.
Dude, that would be entertaining.
Okay.
I would 100% watch that.
All right. I'll have to do that soon. I'll add that to the list.
Nice.
Maybe I can do that after I play Superman on stream.
Oh yeah. So are you streaming I guess yesterday as of the release of this?
Yes, I am streaming yesterday. So I'm continuing the Shantae game on Game Boy Color. So this is to make Michael K stream history here. I am continuing a game for the first time and not just playing it on one stream. So this Shantae is so good. Like these games are just so good. And the first game on the Game Boy Color is like, it's no different. It's so good. I highly recommend the Shantae game. And bro, the music, it is.
Oh, you cut out. Your gate didn't allow you to express.
It is so good. It is so good.
Nice.
Like you need to listen to the soundtrack. Like if you think that the later Shantae music is good, like yes, it is. However, imagine that in chiptune form, and that's basically what this is. And you know how Jake Kaufman is with in chiptune land. So
oh yeah, totally.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
I didn't know that he did the soundtrack for the original game, but apparently he did. So
that's awesome.
Yes, so I will be continuing that one. I have no idea. I think I'm about halfway done with it, but it could be one of those where, where it has like the first half of the game where like you do this thing and you think you're going to beat it, but that's actually just the first half of the game.
Right.
Like Ocarina of Time, like that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to collect these three things and do this. And like, psych, there's way more to it than that.
Yeah, that's like not even half the game. That's like a quarter of the game or something.
Yep. So I don't know if it's one of those situations or not, but we'll see. But it's super cool. It's very good. It's one of those where you can transform into like different characters and you have different abilities depending on what character you're playing as. So
that's cool.
To solve different puzzles or whatever, you have to be a different character. So that kind of thing.
You just reminded me of, dude, I got so trolled by that Ocarina of Time thing when I was a kid. I was like, man, this game's kind of short, but I almost beat it.
Yep.
No.
Same for me, man. Like I remember, like I felt so accomplished getting through that whole first section, and like you look at like the menu after you've gotten through that, and like everything that you've collected is just like it's like all these empty slots and everything. It's like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
Where did what's happening?
Oh man,
it's like a whole other game. That is a great game. Dude, Majora's Mask though, I'm telling you.
I still have to play it.
Man. Yeah. Having played through that as an adult, it just has so much weight to it that I just never really realized when I was younger and when I didn't finish it as a kid.
Oh yeah.
It's so deep. It's
Uh-oh.
I feel like people who don't like that game just first of all, they can't get around the anxiety of the time mechanic, but
yeah,
at some point that's not a problem. It really doesn't take that long for that to not be a problem. But I can totally see how that whole thing can turn people off. But for me, not to turn this into a Majora's Mask podcast, that was like the thing that I really liked about it. Was specifically how like the time travel mechanic, how that affects different things in the game. And like you can very visibly see things happen throughout like the 3 days and like some puzzles that you have to do, you actually have to travel through time to do the different things. So
yeah.
But anyway,
interesting.
We'll have to have a Zelda podcast.
I don't know why back in the day I didn't like want that game. Maybe something about, I think what the deal was, I had played it in like a kiosk in a store or something. And it felt so much like mechanically like Ocarina of Time. And Ocarina of Time was such a leap from Link to the Past.
Yeah.
That I think I thought it was like a cash grab sort of thing. That's kind of how I felt about it. So I'm like, I don't really care. I played Ocarina of Time.
It does use a beefed up Ocarina of Time engine. So,
Yeah.
No doubt it feels that way.
Yeah.
But it is just experience wise in the story and everything. It's so different. It's vastly different.
Clearly that's not something you're going to get in a 5-minute session in a kiosk in a mall or store or something.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was a kid, and I played it, I wasn't wild about it either. Like I played through the first dungeon. The first like 2 major areas, I think, is what I played through.
Yeah.
And I got bored of it, and I the story didn't really grip me at that point in time or anything. But dude, like there's some wild game theories out there about this game. I don't know if you've seen any of them. You should probably play the game before you watch any of this stuff. But
yeah, I definitely. Especially so, I clearly greatly respect your opinion on games, and having heard how you talked about it since you did beat it, like I really want to play it, and I don't want it to be like spoiled or anything. So I would like to get that experience.
However, it's one of those that you do need to like do everything in the game. So you should probably like kind of at least look at some kind of guide or walkthrough to see what the different things are, just so you don't miss anything, that kind of situation.
How long is the game? Like if you know what to do.
I have no idea. I do not remember how long this took me to beat, actually.
Because the reason that I ask is I would like to play through it without looking at a walkthrough, because I would like to just experience it, beat it, then go back and play it again and do all that stuff.
Yeah. Because
unless you wouldn't recommend that.
The main story is 21 hours. The main story plus extra is about 30.
Man.
That's a beefy boy.
It is.
I didn't realize it was that much. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. But
yeah.
But yeah, there's some like side quests in this. Like to be honest, I don't really do side quests a whole lot. Like sometimes I will, but sometimes I won't. If I'm just kind of like there for the main gig and peace out, then that's fine. But I feel like the side stuff in this game is like so worth doing. Like there's one side story in particular that really has nothing to do with what you're doing, but it's like really one of the coolest moments in the whole game.
Oh man.
Like literally one of the coolest things I have experienced in a game. So there's that. Anyway. Add that to your list, Serene.
Yeah. That would be another reason to have an EverDrive for the N64, because I actually have my N64 sitting right over here. What's the RGB status on the N64 stuff?
So it does not do RGB natively. You can only do S-Video or composite. To do RGB, you have to get it modded. It's one of those situations. Okay. And even when you do just a regular RGB, it still has like a blurring filter on the game that the hardware does, that the regular plain old RGB signal doesn't look that great compared to the S-Video signal. So yeah, there's an HDMI mod that came out fairly recently that will remove that blur if you want to. Some games look better without it, and some games look better with it. It's one of those kind of situations.
So it sounds like S-Video is probably the best option.
I think so. Unless you want to do the HDMI mod route, unless you are just an N64 connoisseur or something like that.
No.
But that also gives you RGB too. So it's like a dual wielding mod where like you can actually output both at the same time. So that's cool. But
that's pretty interesting.
Versus my HDMI mod is older and it doesn't do RGB, but it does like remove that blur thing. So
okay, interesting.
So that's cool. But I think S-Video on the 64 is good. I cannot sing the praises of S-Video enough, like over composite video. Like if you have something like some kind of upscaler or something, a good upscaler paired with S-Video it's quite good.
Okay, that's good to know. So is it? I guess it's just a different cable for the N64 for S video.
Yeah, so it has it has the same connector out, but they you want to get an S video cable. Some of them, this is where things get a little weird. Some of them, like if you get a cheapo one, sometimes they are wired to have both composite and S video on the same cable, and those are usually a dirtier signal than one that's just like this is just audio and S video. I just because I'm going to do this right now, doing it live, that kind of thing.
As you do.
I believe. Yeah, so Insurrection Industries, they actually make good SCART cables. They make an S-video cable for the N64 that
okay, cool.
That is a good one to go with.
InsurrectionIndustries.com.
Yeah.
There's your plug for the day.
Yeah. So they make good cables. But cyberspace, for those of you out there wondering what cable you should get for your console, if you get one of those like multi-purpose cables, like it might not be the greatest. Unfortunately, it could be, but usually that's a good indicator that it's a cheapo.
Oh, I didn't realize it was the same cable for Super Nintendo, N64, and GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's handy.
And the AV Famicom, the top loader in Japan uses that same thing.
That's interesting. Wow. Well, one good thing that Nintendo did.
Right.
Out of stock. No. Bummer. All right. Well, now that I know that's half the battle, as G.I. Joe taught me when I was younger.
Right. We could just have a whole cable podcast, basically. I'd have no problem.
I'm sure. Yeah. It'd just be me asking you questions and just dumping your knowledge.
I'm okay with that.
Cool. Well, back to the topic at hand. I think I don't have anything else on the topic of randomizers or ROM hacks unless you do.
Yeah, I don't think I had anything else. I had one. This is frick. I should have inserted this somewhere else. I think this is a cool one. Totally random. Somebody implemented a save game feature in the original Metroid on the NES. Yeah.
How does that work?
I don't know. I have no freaking clue.
And it'll work like if you put it out on an EverDrive or whatever?
Yeah.
The frick? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
The community that just dreams this stuff up and makes it happen, like, bless you. It's just some brilliant stuff, man.
That is completely ridiculous. That blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all I got, Serene. That's all I got.
That's like the 2-player Mario 64 level crap. It's just like, where do you begin to think about that?
Oh, dude, yeah, I don't know, man. I haven't played that Super Mario 2-player thing, so I want to do that at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff is just, it's wild.
We should do that when I come down there.
We should absolutely do that.
Sweet.
We can stream it.
Yes.
Make everybody well aware that it's happening.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Cool, man.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was a good one, Zerain. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, Zerain.
Yes.
People are curious about you. I hear them thinking it right now.
Uh-oh.
They're asking me, where do I find Zerain in cyberspace land? That was it. Where do they find you in cyberspace land, Zerain? What do they do?
You cyberspacelings that are weird enough to want to go there, you can go to Zerain.net, Xeraen.net, and find all the places on the cyberspaces where my face appears. Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I love that. Likewise, michaelk.net/links exists, and there are a bunch of links to Michael K related things, also Zerain related things, to be totally and completely honest, because he's there as well. I do a live stream on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central Time. So that's a thing.
Nice.
I play usually retro games or retro inspired games or whatever. So that could branch out at some point. I don't really know, but there's that. And depending on how you are viewing or listening to this podcast, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you go to hyperpixelpodcast.net, there's a bunch of different ways to view and listen to what we're doing here on the HyperPixel podcast. So check that out. It's been great. It's been phenomenal. It's been incredible, cyberspace. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you, all of you out there in cyberspace land, on the next one. You take care.
Peace.
Deuces.